我不做没，我不做，我不做没，我不做没，我不做没，我不做，我不做没，我不做没，妈不吃，你上去吃看了没？走开！都敢讲，红的讲，你妈去哭啊！好小教会，那我下我只有就这样。我哋那個打啲人啊，打啲嗰條把打啲啊，淋婆婆咪，淋婆婆咪好啦，淋婆婆咪嚇，打啲啦嚇，打啲而家睇打啲人啊嚇，我即唔即應用咗咁多節奏啊，都輕鬆啲用俾佢啊。再抓我手啊！再抓！
不管怎么说，她就是对老公不放心。
In Hangzhou, there was a woman who had been married for over 4 years, yet she constantly suspected that her husband was having an affair. No matter what her husband did, she just couldn't trust him. Every morning, if her husband washed his hair, she would question him. You washed it so clean, who are you trying to impress? If he bought a new piece of clothing, she would suspect. Did the mistress buy this for you? If her husband acted a bit cold toward her, she would say, Are you seeing someone else? You don't love me anymore. If her husband showed her affection, she'd say, You're feeling guilty, aren't you? Must have done something shameful behind my back. Under such endless suspicion, every move her husband made looked like cheating to her. Over time, their marriage became unbearably painful. Until the spring of 2024, when one of her best friends came to visit. The moment she saw how beautiful her friend looked, a sudden idea flashed through her mind. She came up with a plan. She decided to have her best friend try to seduce her husband, as a way to test if he was truly a womanizer. At first, her friend refused, saying, How could you even bring this up? Besides, I'm not even married yet. But the woman replied, That's exactly why it's easier for you to go along with it. You don't have a boyfriend, so no one is going to hold you back. Help me test him, and I'll finally feel at ease about my husband. After repeated pleading, the best friend finally agreed. And so this absurd test began. She pretended to go on a business trip and had her friend arrange an accidental encounter with her husband, giving her detailed instructions on what to do. Her friend followed the script exactly. But during their first meeting, sparks flew and things spiraled out of control. Her husband and her best friend actually started to develop real feelings for each other. After returning home, she asked her friend how things went. Her friend lied and said, Your husband is a total gentleman, he didn't fall for it at all. You can be completely reassured. But in truth, her friend and her husband had already started secretly dating behind her back. The fact was, her husband had never cheated. She was the one who pushed temptation right in front of him. And now he had fully fallen. By early 2025, her husband suddenly filed for divorce in court. She was shocked. I haven't even mentioned divorce yet, how could you be the one to file first? And you're giving up the house, the child, and all our savings. Am I really that worthless to you? Only then, after some investigation, did she learn the truth. It was because of her best friend that her husband decided to end the marriage. This filled her with overwhelming regret. The best friend she had trusted the most had now become her romantic rival. She had stolen her husband. So she beat her up on the street in broad daylight. People often say, guard against fire, thieves, and your best friend. She now fully understood what that meant. In truth, her biggest mistake was, she never should have used her best friend to test her husband. In the end, neither her husband nor her friend passed the test. She not only lost her marriage but also her friendship. It was truly a case of losing everything. What I want to say is, this is human nature. If you are truly wise, you won't try to test human nature lightly. Because human nature often cannot withstand such tests, whether good or bad, it's all the same.
有些时候男人出轨都是这个女人撺掇的，刚开始我也不相信这句话。
Sometimes, when a man cheats, the root of the problem doesn't entirely lie with the man himself, but rather, it's the woman who leads him step by step into it. At first, I was also skeptical about this idea, until one day, a fan shared her personal story with me, and only then did I truly realize how terrifying it can be. She told me that her boyfriend got involved with her best friend. At this point, she began to fiercely accuse them. How evil her best friend was, how scummy her boyfriend was, that no man is ever a good one, and that women can't be trusted either. Her best friend, she said, wore one face in public and another in private, completely two-faced, and all of them were terrible people. But after I heard the full story from beginning to end, I realized that this whole explosive situation was actually ignited by her own hand. At the beginning, she didn't really distrust her boyfriend that much. It was just her habit to keep testing him. When they were out shopping, she would often bring up things on purpose, like saying to her boyfriend, "Do you think that girl over there is pretty? Do you prefer this type or that type?" She'd even go further and say things like, "Look at that girl's boobs, they're huge, don't you just want to touch them? Look at her butt, it's so round, you must want to smack it, right?" Then she would stare at her boyfriend's eyes and say, "You won't admit it, but I know exactly what you're thinking. Your eyes have already betrayed you." At first, she thought this kind of teasing was fun and exciting, but gradually, she began to feel it wasn't enough. So she went even further, and dragged her best friend into it. She actually conspired with her best friend, planning to test whether her boyfriend could truly resist temptation. She arranged everything in advance, booked a hotel room, created a perfect opportunity for her best friend and boyfriend to be alone together. Naively, she thought this would just be a little test. But who would have thought that this so-called test would really spark a fire? After all, young people are full of hormones. A man and a woman, alone in one room. It didn't take long for them to fall into a whirlpool of desire. Her best friend failed to hold the line, and her boyfriend was no better. Eventually, the two of them hit it off and ended up sleeping together. Meanwhile, she was still waiting outside, ready to check the results. She kept staring at the lights in the room and started to feel uneasy. Why haven't they come out yet? She waited and waited, until she couldn't take it anymore. So she rushed in, only to be completely stunned on the spot. The two of them were naked, and in the middle of. That scene made her break down instantly. She was totally numb. I asked her, "You planned all of this, from the suggestive talk to setting the trap. Who can you really blame?" But she gritted her teeth and shouted, "Who else can I blame? Of course it's the guy's fault. You men are all trash. And my best friend is a piece of garbage too, none of them are even human." Hearing her say that, I had only one thought in my mind. So according to you, everyone else is a bad person, and only you're the good one?
不要申请个小号就勾搭自己的男人去试探他。
Girls, stop doing those ridiculous loyalty tests. Seriously, they're unnecessary and pointless. Nowadays, so many people love using so-called tricks to test their partner's faithfulness. Some create fake accounts and pretend to be strangers to flirt with their own boyfriend, while others use money or temptation to test a girl's material desires. At the end of the day, these behaviors are, in essence, unethical, and honestly, they show a complete lack of respect for the relationship itself. Some girls, you say you want to test your boyfriend's loyalty, fine, whatever. But the problem is, even when you're testing him, your fake account has no posts, no profile picture, not even a decent photo. How do you expect anyone to trust you? At the very least, shouldn't you show a bit of sincerity? Even if it's just a test, post a few pretty pictures. At least put up a couple of influencer-style photos to make your boyfriend think you're an attractive girl. Otherwise, he doesn't even get a basic impression of you. With things like this, who would respond so casually? People aren't stupid. But I still sincerely want to tell all the girls one thing. If you still plan on eating a bowl of noodles, then don't go throwing garbage into it. You're the one tossing filth into the bowl, and then you're forcing yourself to swallow it. Aren't you just making yourself sick? What are you even trying to prove? If you've really thought it through and decided that this relationship isn't worth continuing, then sure, I support you in doing a loyalty test. But if not, don't stir up trouble just because you're bored. Don't go creating drama for no reason. Treating testing like some kind of entertainment, one test might destroy the last bit of trust between the two of you.
Don't test whether your partner loves you or not. This kind of thing, honestly, can't withstand testing. I've found that in real life. Many women like to use various small details to test whether their partner truly loves them. They seem to need this repeated confirmation in order to feel secure. But I want to tell everyone that this kind of behavior is actually meaningless, because a lot of times those so-called tests only make sense within the logic you've created for yourself. Your partner, however, doesn't necessarily believe that doing things your way means he loves you, or that not doing them the way you expected means he doesn't. So essentially, this kind of thing is really quite ridiculous. And during this process, the emotional fluctuations women go through, how intense, how dramatic, will bring huge mental exhaustion and endless suspicion upon themselves. To put it bluntly, it's like a performance with no props, a whole play where you're the only one acting, but you've written yourself too many scenes. Seriously, whether someone loves you or not is often reflected in many specific things. And given the intuition women naturally have, how could you possibly not sense it? Then why keep overthinking? Why keep testing? The only one drained in this whole process is you. So I really want to tell everyone, don't do this kind of pointless thing. Let's say today your original idea is, I want to test whether he'll bring me a gift. Then you might as well just tell him directly, I want this gift, go buy it for me. That result is what actually matters. I want this gift, you go buy it, done. Don't leave the decision up to him. Who knows, maybe your boyfriend forgets today, maybe he just didn't get anything, and then you end up overthinking it all night, unable to sleep. So many times, life is already hard enough. It's best to remove all these twists and turns in the middle. Whatever you want, make your goals clear. If you want a certain bag or a certain meal, have him buy it. If you want to relax, have him take care of the kid. When your husband gets home from work, just tell him directly, today you take care of the kid, I'm going out to unwind. That's what direct, effective communication is. If you use these things as tests, the results often won't be what you want. Then you begin to mentally spiral, overthink, doubt, and in the end, from the perspective of the relationship, it'll only get worse. So, have you ever done something like this in your own relationship? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about whether these tests are really worth it. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.